Hi, and welcome to another video interview here on this new Awesome Sauce series. I'm so glad to introduce one of my favorite teachers in the online world. Today I'm going to talk with Farnoosh Brock. I discovered Farnoosh in her great site called Prolific Living a little over a year ago. And I just loved it from the moment I saw it because it's, so much about healthy living, although she also talks a lot about how to find your freedom and kind of escape from your cubicle job if that's what you're up to. But for me, of course, it was about this health part. And, when I got onto her site, I downloaded this free Kindle book she had called The 8 Pillars of Motivation, which was super inspiring for me. And I knew that this would be a good read because I could tell Farnoosh was really one motivated woman. And then I had the great opportunity to meet Farnoosh in person last summer here in Portland. It was before I lived here. I was at this conference called the World Domination Summit. You might have read about it on my blog. It's not what it sounds like, or maybe it is, but in a good way. It's a conference for unconventional entrepreneurial types creatives who want to share their ideas and tips on how to make a living while living in that kind of way. And so I met Farnoosh there at a juice bar where she had arranged a meetup. And in the flesh, she pretty much met up to my expectations. She's just a glowing woman. She just really has this energy. And I hadn't quite gotten that part before, but a lot of what's responsible for that glow is Farnoosh's passion for juice, fresh juice. And she is the juicing maven. And that led her to write her brand new book that just came out. It's called The Healthy Juicer's Bible. And, I have known about juicing for many years, have experimented with juicing, but I really love the way Farnoosh presented the whole concept just in a more kind of friendly, organic way, not like you must juice and this cleansing thing. So, yeah, so it's springtime here in the Northern Hemisphere, and the seasons are changing everywhere. It's a great time to kind of cleanse and infuse your body with some fresh new energy. So I thought it'd be great to sit down with Farnoosh and talk. So, hi, Farnoosh, and welcome.
Hi, Sarah. That was the nicest introduction I have ever had. Thank you.
Well, thank you for all your inspiration. So, I just loved your story about how you got into juicing. You were watching Jack LaLanne one morning. I didn't even know he was still alive. And tell us a little bit about, you had never even really known about it. So, tell us how you found about juicing.
Right, right. I was not in a very happy place in my life. So I was looking for something new to try because I was a little overweight. I was unhappy in my corporate job. At the time, I still worked there. And I was always a fitness conscious person. So I was going to the gym. I was trying to eat healthy, but nothing was working for whatever reason at the time in my body. So when I heard about juicing, which is about everything that I love. I love fruits, I love vegetables, and I love herbs, and it was all in a different form. And I'm also not into cooking or baking, but this just looked fascinating to me. And I know that when I was very young, my mom used to make us fresh orange juice and sometimes fresh carrot juice. I think she had just a single machine that maybe a manual juicer at the time. And so there was that in the back of my mind and the idea of something fresh, raw, pure, simple, natural. So I wanted to give it a try. And of course, I had to take the step to buy a juicer because where I live, there are no juice bars like in Portland.
I know, we're lucky.
Yes, you are. And, it's not even that common anymore. But I got into it. I got it in my kitchen. I started trying different recipes, and I was hooked, completely hooked from the first week of trying.
Wow. So even that very first, was it hard to make the juice, but did it feel like, it just felt natural to you, huh?
I did have a learning curve, I have to tell you. After I learned about Jack LaLanne, and of course, since then, he's been gone, but, his memory and his inspiration lives on.
Right.
And Jack LaLanne talked a little bit about, how to get started. Then I got Jack LaLanne and his wife's book, as well as a couple of other books, and I started reading about it because what I didn't want to do is get into it and do it wrong and then get all turned off, which is something I recommend. whether you pick up my book or whatever book, I recommend you learn a little bit about it. You stick to some known recipes at the beginning, and
Right.
kind of like get your taste buds used to this and build up to the more green and richer recipes. But to answer your question, after the initial learning, it was so much fun to experiment with this. I still experiment. Like 6 years later, I still make new recipes. So I think that the thing that blew me away, Sarah, was how amazingly delicious it tasted.
And that's amazing. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people have that concept of, oh, it's good. It's sort of, it's this healthy thing you have to choke down because it's good for
No.
you. So that's great. Yeah, because I mean, I first learned about fresh juices, eons ago. I don't. You were probably still a little kid, no, back in the '80s, and it was all sort of. It was very. You would fast on carrot juice, and we had these big champion juicers, which I know you still recommend, but they were kind of like a pain in the neck to clean. Although they did make this really delicious natural ice cream with frozen bananas. I don't know if you've ever tried that. You can freeze bananas and put them through a champion juicer and maybe even the one you use. But anyway, it just was it was a little intimidating. And, I think we've come a long way, both in juicing and kind of attitudes about it. It's not just super fringe anymore. It's not about, having to be like super cleansed. It's sort of something you can kind of add in to what you're already doing and really get some benefits. And so, yeah, I'm interested in how you integrate juice into your day. I mean, you don't, it's not all about fasting for you. I know that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I love solid food. I
Mm.
love to eat. And I think that you said it beautifully, because this whole military approach to cleansing and detoxing, I don't have that.
Mm.
Now, I do juice fast. I do the juice fast. But, and I talk about that extensively in the book, if that's
Yeah.
what you're interested in. But you can simply add it to whatever it is you are eating and drinking. I mean, that's the beauty of it, because you are probably missing a lot of nutrients in your current diet. And
Yeah.
this is the best and the fastest way to get them into your body, the most natural way you can get them into your body, and the most delicious thing that you can consume if you make them right. So you do,
That's
again,
the
want to
trick.
make, yeah, you want to make some recipes that have already been made. And there's so many recipes online. I have a bunch of recipes that I've tried. And you want to try to start with good recipes, but it's absolutely delicious. And what I do now, so I'll give you an example. Generally, I try to juice, and I don't even say I try, like I am compelled, I feel compelled to juice about 4 to 5 times a week. And
Okay.
usually I make more than enough, and I store my leftover just about 24 hours. But I
Okay.
store them in a glass jar with tight lid containers. I used to use plastic, but glass is so much better because,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right, and then I have juice just about every day. But sometimes I go through periods when my life is so busy, as I'm sure yours is,
Yeah.
and I may juice twice a week.
Right.
And the more I juice, the more I see the benefits. The more I come away from it, the worse I feel. So I have my body has really come to expect it. And you're going to see some amazing benefits, even if you just start to do it a little bit. So we can talk more about the benefits, but that's sort of how I do it, And I usually drink my juice. If you're curious, the best time is first thing in the morning on an empty stomach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you wake up, you are dehydrated. And of course, I do drink a glass of water, but sometimes I just go straight to the juice because it is so hydrating. And also, it gives you that nutrients, and you want to drink your juice on a relatively empty stomach.
Right. Yeah.
So
That makes
it's
sense.
perfect. And then I wait maybe an hour or 2 hours, go through my routine for the morning, and then maybe I have a light breakfast.
Okay. Yeah.
And the other time that's really, really good to drink them is after a workout or after a yoga class, where you have lost some of those electrolytes and
Yeah.
you are thirsty, but you don't want to eat a heavy meal. You want to rehydrate yourself first, rejuvenate your body, and then eat something to get your digestive system going.
Yeah, that I feel really drawn to that idea for sure, to have it, after a workout. So, and then you could probably even make the juice ahead of time, go do your workout, and then it would be sort of ready for you. Or yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I like that. So let's talk a little bit about these types of juicers. Now, until I looked at your book, I hadn't really heard this difference between the masticating juicer and I think it was the centrifugal.
Centrifugal
Yeah,
juicer, right?
yeah. And so let's hear a little bit about that. I know you might be able to show us a real quick visual of the
Yes,
juicer you
we
use.
have
It's a
one.
pretty big deal, pretty big one, but
We have one. In fact, let me do that. I have my masticating juicer. It is an omega juicer, and you'll excuse me. I'm going to
okay,
bend over and
okay.
pick it up. So this was my first juicer, and I still use it. And so I'm going to pick it up so you can see it.
Heavy. Oh, whoa,
See
that
this?
thing is fancy. Now that's so much cooler looking than the old Champions, but it kind of looks like it. Yeah.
It does. So this is the omega, and this I'll show you is the shoot.
Okay,
Where
yeah.
the vegetables go down here, and you have something to push them down with.
Right. Okay.
So you see, this is a horizontal sort of a juicer,
Setup.
a machine, and that is mostly what the masticating juicers are. They're mostly going to come in a horizontal shape. They are generally slower to juice, so it's going to take a little bit of a time to put your vegetables through. The shoot is a smaller, and the way that it works, it comes out, slower, but the juice is more delicious. It's the kind of juice you want to store. It doesn't push it out like the centrifugal. It actually crushes the vegetables, and it does it in such a way that your pulp, which is the fiber, is completely dry, so that you don't waste juice.
Don't waste so much, right?
Everything out. And they do tend to be relatively more expensive because of all the benefits that I mentioned to you. Now, if you're starting out, a centrifugal is perfect. And the centrifugal is more of a horizontal
right.
machine.
Okay.
Large the shoot. You may not have to cut up your vegetables as a small. It's faster. It's a little bit louder. Breville is a very popular brand that makes, $100 or less centrifugal juicers. However, the way that it works, your pulp is going to be very wet. So you're going to lose some of the juices, and the way it pushes it out, it puts a lot more foam in your juice with the air that comes out.
Right.
Still, they're both good, if you're going to start out. I have moved to the masticating ones because I prefer them. But again, you want to make a little bit more time to make them, and they are a little bit of a bigger investment. But it's truly an investment in your health.
Right. Well, it definitely makes sense to start out, like if you're just starting, you're not sure as long as it still makes good tasting juice, to go with the centrifugal, because there is that time issue too that we'll get into if we, trying to integrate that into your life and the time it takes prepping the vegetables and then actually juicing them and doing all of that. So a lot of my friends that have been raving to me for years about they make green juice every day or a lot, but they use that acne juicer, and now I am understanding from your book, and for some reason I just didn't quite click before that's actually more of like a green smoothie or something. That's not actually green juice. So can you talk about that a little and the difference? I mean, I'm sure they're both beneficial in their ways, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not familiar with the term you use, but there's green smoothie, or they blend the food, right? Basically,
I'm pretty sure you put it all in it. Yeah. So basically, the pulp is still in there, I think. Yeah.
The pulp is still in there, right? The green smoothies are wonderful for you. Wonderful. I talk about it in my book, right?
Okay.
Green smoothies are, again, raw, healthy. You're getting all of your greens, all the chlorophyll, all the nutrients. It's perfect, but it's food.
Yeah.
So your digestive system has to work to break it down and get to the nutrients, which is fine. You can only put so much vegetables and fruits in a glass of a smoothie, even if you crush it and really, really break it down to where it's in liquid form. The Vitamix machine and the Blendtec, those are the two.
Vitamix, that's what I was thinking, right.
Yes, I love my Vitamix. And so they break it down in such a way you can just drink it. But it's still a food because it has all the fiber in it. Now, with the juices, it's such a, the difference is you don't have the fiber anymore. Okay. So your body can basically absorb, your cells can absorb the juice right away. Your digestive system doesn't kick in, right? It goes right to your cells. One of the benefits of juicing is that if you are interested in fasting or detoxing and cleansing or rebooting, as they call it, one of the guys, Joe Cross, he's one of the big guys in the juicing world. He calls it reboot. If you want to do that for your body, you can't do that with green smoothies because that's food. You're still consuming food. Your body doesn't go into a fasting mode where your digestive system shuts down. So that's what you can do. That's one of the, I think, wonderful benefits of juicing. And I think juicing is more rehydrating, rejuvenating, quick burst of energy, whereas the smoothie is filling. If you're hungry, you want to have a smoothie. It fills you up. But because your digestive system has to work, I feel it gives you less energy because, as you may know, your digestive system uses energy to digest your food, which is why after a heavy meal, you may feel tired.
Right. Yeah, you get sleepy.
So you know, I talk about how, use both of them in your life. I'm crazy about juicing, but that's just my personal preference. But if you are hungry and if you want a meal and you want to get the fiber, which is really good for you, make a green smoothie. If you want to maybe go on a fast, or you're cleansing, or you're just thirsty and you're trying to just get a lot of nutrients and pack them in a glass, then drink juice.
Yeah, that helps. And I mean, I do think they're both, and I just really had it, the green drink, I had them kind of mixed up, but and I can see that the juicing is a lot more concentrated, and certainly for fasting. I mean, that I understand, because that's all about giving your digestive system a rest. And, just as you were talking, that reminded me of a question I've wondered about, and I don't know if you even know, but sort of like the carbohydrate content. I mean, I wonder if the green drinks have more carbs than the juices, or the same. The juice is still pretty carb intensive, right?
It depends on what you put in it, Sarah. Depends on what you put in it. And that's why with juicing, it's actually very important that you try to limit your pure fruit juices. Because they have high level of fructose, which is, again, a natural sugar. It's not terrible for you as it is processed sugar, but you want to limit it. Now, the more green you make your juice, the more you cut down the sugar, and the better for you. For instance, when I go on a fast, I don't limit my green juice. Because it doesn't matter, the carb level or the sugar level is pretty low if I put a lot of vegetables in it and I minimize the fruit. But if I'm going to have a sweet, like a dessert drink, if you will, then I try to limit those. And so, especially if you have any kind of diabetes tendencies, you want to be careful
of the fruit.
That is a very, very good point.
Because it's very concentrated.
Absolutely. But if you make it really green, then you don't have to worry about it, because your dark leafy vegetables, for instance, they have almost no sugar. Whereas your beets and your carrots.
That's what I was going to ask about.
All of that, they do have some sugar. Yes.
So beets and carrots, because even though they're technically vegetables, but they still are kind of have not as high as fruit does, but it's a sugar concentrate. So I think maybe my guess would be they're sort of good when you're starting out juicing, because they do add a sweetness and sort of a, heartiness to the juice. But if you really want to get away from those sugars and carbs, to go with the greener vegetables. Great. So
I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's
but
okay.
If you are going through a change in your diet, I still think that it's better to have beet carrot juice than it is to have a cookie.
Oh,
so I think
no doubt.
If you're moving in that direction, it's a good way to transition, and you can still sweeten your green drink with a little bit of carrot, a little bit of apple. So I still make them, and I still think it's, delicious, and I feel really good that I'm consuming this natural juice rather than processed food. But you're absolutely right that you want to be wary of those sugars.
And I would imagine having things like the beet carrot juice, or it'll help reduce the cravings for the less healthful sweets that we get our cravings for. So that's really cool. Now, and one of the things you kind of hear about with juicing, and is of big interest to, everyone listening to this, is, kind of how it can bring back that youthful glow. You're certainly an example, and, help you look and feel younger. And I'm just wondering if you've gotten much feedback from your own readers and followers who are midlife and older about that effect, and what you think about that.
Right. So we have, I have a juicing clinic. I have a virtual juicing clinic.
Right.
We have about 80 people. And I have all age groups, and I think every age is fabulous. But I do have people that are over 50, some over 60, that are getting into juicing just for the first time, maybe even getting into healthier food for the first time in their life.
Yeah.
And I cannot begin to tell you all the benefits. Most of the benefits that they see is actually beyond skin deep. So it's internal, healing ulcer, joint pain, cravings. There is a gentleman who is in the clinic. He is early 70s, and he's in Bavaria, Germany, and his wife has advanced stage cancer. So he is helping her deal with that and have an easier time. So it's helping her. I mean, people are doing it for all kinds of reasons. Weight loss or health gain, as I like to call it. Health gain.
Yes.
It's just a better way to think about it.
Absolutely.
But you know, the glow, the reason for the glow, let me explain that. It's very simple. And it's something that may not be as common because maybe we don't talk about it as much. But I will. And that is the reason your skin and your body may look and feel tired and therefore lack that glow is because your digestive system is not as efficient and your body is holding on to waste that it doesn't need. So the more efficient your digestive system, the better and more easily your body gets rid of waste. I mean, I look and feel better than I did in my 20s and my early 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was younger, so it doesn't make sense to me. And I was healthier. But I think my digestive system was never as efficient as it is now. So that's the reason. And juicing just kicks that into gear. It's like becoming a well-oiled machine.
It clears those metabolic wastes, I think. Yeah, and the joint pain. I'm glad you mentioned that because that is another effect I know I've read and heard about a lot, and that's huge for a lot of people. So it's really an amazing remedy, actually, I think, for joint pain. So yeah.
Totally. I mean, I have joint pain because I do a lot of yoga, so I don't think it's even age-related. It's how much do you use your body? Athletes have joint pain all the time, and so I think if you just think about it in terms of, okay, I'm healing my body and the digestive system, I mean, you will be amazed. And this is probably, the glow is probably one of the last benefits that I thought about because there were so many other things happening that is just amazing. But that's what I think is the byproduct of an efficient digestive system.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, I think, if it doesn't have to work that hard. So, and I love the kind, you sort of touch on it in your book, this idea. I think juicing it's a way to take care of yourself. And I write a lot about that on my blog and, we kind of interact about that. And there's maybe an idea that, it's sort of this extra work thing, but really it can be sort of a way to cherish yourself. Do you agree with that? Or can you elaborate a little?
This is funny you say that. So this is probably coming to talking about, how it takes more time. You have to buy a juicer. You have to go shopping. I mean, you look at it as, I have to do one more thing.
Yeah.
And if you look at it that way, it's going to feel that way. So when I started my clinic, I have a lot of lessons. And one of the lessons was about how to develop a system and to do all of that. And you can do that. So I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
What I want to mention is this. We have a mutual friend, Sandy Amorim.
Right.
And from Vancouver,
one of my favorite ladies.
This woman is a super queen of juicing now. She is way ahead of me. She's going to go on some 3-week juice fast soon.
Crazy.
So, and Sandy's the one who has felt a lot of joint pain going away as a result of healing.
Right.
But what she was explaining recently is how at the beginning it was a hassle to juice. It was a hassle to make time for it in the middle of an already busy life, which all of us lead now. However, she got into a point where she realized the healing that is going on in her body as a result of regular juicing, and the time where she started to the time that she was juicing became this meditative Zen time for her. So she wasn't even rushing the process of juicing. She was just there. It was a time where she would reflect, think about her day. And when she told me that, I realized I do that without thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you should go ahead and do that. I'm saying when you realize the healing and the goodness you are doing for yourself, you don't think of juicing as a hassle.
Right.
You just work, you just integrate it in. And maybe there is 10 or 15 minutes in your day that you waste or you don't use. Maybe. I'm not saying you do. So then, if that's possible, think about being a little more efficient the rest of your day, and you can make more time for something that's so powerful and has such great results.
Well, I love the idea of having it be a meditation, and it's that whole chop wood, carry water idea, and the chopping the vegetables and the washing, all of it, instead of it being a chore, it's like it's part of this meditation of this self-care and this self-cherishing and this loving yourself. And it's, what a much more beautiful way to look at it. And I think, that does get back to this sort of new way of experiencing juicing, and not the old, like, yes, you must be cleansed and healthy. So, yeah. Right. And the other thing I've seen Sandy mention, which I thought was super cool, is, you're talking about how you get all this pulp, you're drinking the juice and you get all this pulp, and then she takes the pulp and makes muffins and different, like, healthy cookies and things. Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't see that. I haven't read every recipe. I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Pulp recipes, they are from her and my friend Regina, who runs the coffee shop around here, because I am not much of a cook or a baker. I think I mentioned it.
You did, yeah.
So they have some great recipes for the pulp. Yeah, they know exactly what to do. You do not have to waste your pulp. I just put mine in compost, but you absolutely don't have to waste it. So don't think that, anything goes to waste in the process. There is so many things you can do with the pulp. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. And that actually brings me right into, because I did want to ask you, what is your favorite juice recipe? Can you think of one off the top of your head?
I have so many. So I have made one recently, which is simple. So I want to give you simple, because my husband was complaining that I have like 12 to 14 ingredient recipes, and he doesn't know all these things he's tasting.
He's like, what are they?
I know. So I have something really simple, and it's delicious.
Okay.
You need oranges, kale, cilantro or parsley.
Right.
Orange, kale, parsley, and a little ginger. And that's it. So it's great because it has the citrus. It's great for a breakfast juice, but it also has the greens. It's light. It's not very rich. If I want to make it rich, I use my fruits as a base. I explained this, right?
Yeah.
So this is a citrus-based juice, but sometimes if I want to make it rich, I add carrot or beet or tomato base. But this one is a light, rehydrating, rejuvenating drink. It's perfect for after workout. And it's delicious, and it's super green, but it's not very bitter because of the orange. So it's perfect.
Yeah, it sounds really zingy, and I mean, parsley is just so, so high in vitamin C too, and really healthy for you. Yeah, and it's like, because I can't, I don't even like straight fruit juices anymore, even fresh ones, because they're so sweet. So that's just such a great way to cut that sweetness and, still get some of that benefits of those fresh oranges. Yeah, I love that one. So do you just kind of, I'm sure the proportions are in the book, or, even...
I can give you proportions. So
okay.
If you're just doing that, this is what's going to happen. At the beginning, I do recommend you follow recipes, but over time, your taste buds, you're going to modify recipes no matter what.
Yeah.
But what I do is, the kale bunch that you get?
Yeah.
Depends on how much you want to make. If you want to make one serving, I would use half of that, which is like maybe 3 stalks of kale, 3 to 4 stalks of kale.
Okay.
I would use one big orange or 2 small oranges.
Okay.
And then I would have, half or a third of a bunch of parsley.
Okay.
You know how you get them, a third of
Right.
that. And then if you want to throw a little bit of ginger.
Yeah.
Do not go crazy with the ginger.
It's pungent. Yeah.
Like a teaspoon worth of ginger.
Okay.
And that should give you a full glass.
Yeah. And that just really helps to, illustrate how many nutrients you're getting, because you don't usually eat that much. I mean, in one, that would be a lot of food to eat, but so you're getting all those nutrients in this nice little glass of juice. And then you can even go on and have, a healthy meal an hour or two later with more nutrients. So I really like how that just shows how you're really adding in all these vitamins and nutrients by having this juice in your diet. That's awesome.
You know what? It gives you a lot of energy, and it does fill you up.
Yeah.
I mean, something like this one may not fill you up as much, but if you have a richer base, like I said, with carrots and beets and the greens on top, it's like a full meal.
Yeah.
Which is why you do not go hungry on fast. This is the biggest fear people have before going on a fast.
Yeah.
And we can get into that only if you want to, but you definitely get a lot of energy from this glass. You would be amazed. I mean, I have so much energy and I have actually more energy than I did before. I've always been high energy, but I've been up since 4:30 in the morning, and I've done 2 hours of yoga, and I've had 2 meetings, and and I can still go a few more hours. I really think that juicing is helping me make that possible in my life.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I did notice in your last blog post that you get up at 4:30 and go off to do some stuff before you go to yoga. I know, and I thought, okay, that is a testimonial to the juice. Now, I imagine you probably go to bed fairly early, usually too, the nights before that.
Sarah, I can tell you, when I used to do yoga and I thought I was pretty fit, a couple of years ago, I was doing a different kind of yoga, which was just as intense. I would come home and have to take a nap.
Right. Yeah.
And now my yoga class is a slightly longer. I do it in the morning, which is harder. If you're doing yoga, it's harder to get going.
Yeah.
And I never have to take a nap. I think that the fact that the juicing has actually replaced that and given me more energy, you'll just be amazed. I think it's just fun to tap into that energy in your own body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's priceless. Yeah, I mean, having that energy is huge, and such a more sustained energy than caffeine will give you, or coffee especially.
Yes.
Which I do love, but I know is, it's got that, that up and that down. It doesn't, it doesn't sustain you in the same way. So yeah. And I think, I'm pretty sure you've told me, maybe even in person, that for you, adding in all the juices has allowed you to let go of coffee, and then, maybe a little less caffeine. So that's nice too for people who want that.
Yes. And I am not big on you shouldn't drink coffee. I mean,
right.
I don't know the conclusive results on whether coffee is good or bad for you. I just go by how I feel.
Yeah, I think it's
very
individual. Yeah.
It's totally individual. I wouldn't feel bad if you drink coffee, but I lost the taste for coffee because I think that with juicing, it just changes your taste buds. And don't be surprised if you lose the craving for bad food or for junk food. That has happened to a lot of people in my clinic unintentionally.
Right.
They're like, I don't feel like my popcorn anymore, and I had no intention of stopping that.
That was fun for me. Yeah, I know, it's interesting, and I think you might, the nice thing is there's some things that maybe they're not even bad foods, but for some reason they're not quite agreeing with your body, but yet you crave them, which we do for, there's all these weird physiological reasons that we might crave foods that actually kind of wreak havoc in our system. So the juice can kind of help rebalance things, perhaps, and so you've got me wanting to go buy my juicer now. So we've been talking about a ton of them, and so maybe you could just quickly say what you think for you your number one benefit has been from juicing.
I'll give you a really simple one. I feel happy and great.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, if you can feel that way about a habit in your life, you are going to want to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And that's the thing, if you force yourself to do something, it'll never last. If I had to force myself to do this, I would never do it. I would never blog about it. I would never write a book.
Yeah.
So the way it makes me feel is incredible. I get excited about the prospect of juicing. I can tell you that, and it doesn't get old. And I just feel like if this is the way I feel, if I'm really in touch with my body, that's my number one reason. But beyond that, I look good. I feel good about my body. My system is happy. I have a lot of energy. I have good control over my cravings, even though I do eat bad food once in a while.
Yeah. You have to be, life is life, and you don't want to be too perfect,
Absolutely.
Right.
It's almost like my secret medicine. Well, it's not so secret anymore after I wrote the book. It's my medicine, and I don't like medication, but I do like a natural way that I can bring my body back into harmony whenever I want to.
Yeah, so. That's huge. Yeah. Now, one of my favorite sections of the book is at the not the very end, but close to the end, where you actually have a chapter too that deals with, resistance, like people's resistance to getting juicing or sticking with it, because it really is a commitment. And so I'd love it if you could summarize a little bit of some of your key arguments that you make in there about beating that internal resistance that we all face to doing things that we know will make us feel better.
You know that one too, right?
Yeah, you better believe it.
Yeah. I mean, that one, I wanted to talk about those issues because it's not as simple to stick to things. So, unless you are superhuman, you are going to feel the resistance, and it's totally normal.
Yeah.
After the excitement goes away, you buy your juicer, you juice a few times, then to build it like a habit, you may feel some resistance, even if it makes you feel good, even if it gives you energy.
Right.
It still takes that effort to make it. So I wanted to first let you know that if you punish yourself or you push, and you try to discipline yourself, I have tried every version of that in my life, and it only works so long and for so much.
Right.
So I wanted to have a gentler approach, and this has worked a lot better. During the 6 years that I've been juicing, I've had long lapses. I had a lapse where I was completely emotional, of course, most of our lapses are, and I wasn't juicing or taking care of myself. And the longer it went, the longer I wanted it to go. Like I was just not happy, so I didn't want to be happy. I mean, it was just a really big cycle. And I looked back, and then when I started juicing, I was punishing myself. So it was just this self-sabotage that kept going on, and it wasn't serving me at all.
Yeah.
And now, when I have those lapses, if I do, I have them a lot less. But if I do, I just start where I left off and I move on. And I am actually especially more loving to myself. So I wanted to talk about the resistance because it's going to come up. I wanted to talk about it because it's totally, perfectly fine. And I wanted to ask you to please don't punish yourself. You just waste good energy that you could use to juice or do whatever you love.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I think when you do that, the habit builds better in your system.
Right.
So,
and it's easier to stick with it, from then on. I mean, this whole self-berating thing, I think it kind of keeps you away from it for longer, or, it just, it turns it into, it takes away from the joy, and it's all about finding joy in your life, And so, but yet, and just accepting that it's human and you're not weird or alone or super unself-disciplined if you fall off the wagon for a while, or if you just deal with that resistance. And I just love that you address that in the book, because a lot of these books about health protocols, they don't really take that into account, and it's like it's the missing piece. It's an important missing piece.
Absolutely. Another approach is just observe it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't feel like juicing for a week, okay? And I'm not saying if you don't feel like it, okay, just give up. Maybe you have a system in place. I talk about putting a system in place, making it as efficient as possible, making it so easy for yourself to do it. But if you absolutely don't feel like it, you feel there's a strong resistance, just observe and say, that's interesting. I wonder why I don't feel this way. And then maybe ask yourself questions. Maybe it's related to something that's happening in another area of your life. And you discover that, and then you take care of that. So instead of punishing yourself, it's totally self-destructive.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of us have old patterns that we have to just constantly remember, that noticing, the curiosity that you're just talking about. I love that. And then the exploring, with compassion of yourself. And, so thank you for adding that in. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
That's a big one. You know how big it is, Sarah.
Yes.
I'm glad you really get that too.
Yeah, I certainly get that, and it's sort of an ongoing journey for me to begin again, and for all of us, I think, for all of us. So, yeah. Well, we're kind of, we're coming down to the end of our time. I just wanted to quickly touch on, some of the people watching this, if they've been reading the blog for a while, are familiar with your name because of the 10-minute invigorator that I wrote about several months back, because I just love this, what you created with that. And just, I'm not even sure what we would even want you to say. It's just kind of, I guess, what inspired you to create it, and what can you say about integrating movement into your life, even in small doses like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for writing about that. I remember that blog post, and we had a lot of fun conversations with your readers.
Yeah.
So I did that because, health is a big thing for me. And I wanted to create something to make this feeling that I feel that's so good, and maybe I do more of it, but I think you don't need to. I think I wanted to make it accessible.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
People who don't have the opportunity to go to a fancy yoga class, or to go to a gym, or to have a fancy curriculum, whatever. I mean, we're busy.
Yeah.
So I have noticed that this particular set of movements and breathing exercises, right? And they are a certain way. They're based on the theory of Kundalini yoga. I
Okay.
combine that. It's a type of yoga. It's a certain type of breathing, and it's a little bit of a cardio that basically taps into energy in your body. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily to sweat and lose weight.
Yeah.
And it focuses on some flexibility and some balance, but the whole idea is to kind of invigorate you. That's exactly
Yeah.
what it does.
Yeah, it's kind of awakening that, that inner
Yes,
energy. Yeah, yeah.
yes.
And you get
And
that benefit of movement. Yeah. Go ahead.
absolutely. And it doesn't take that long. So you can certainly do an hour of it, but if you do 10 minutes, you can see the results. And I felt 10 minutes was something that you could commit to 10 minutes of taking care of yourself a day
Yeah.
at home, in the comfort of your home or your office. And I wanted to just make it accessible and maybe arouse curiosity around another way of taking care of yourself in a quick way, but a consistent way. So the secret is to do it as often as possible, ideally daily, to see the benefits. But even if you don't, again, don't berate yourself,
Yeah.
just do it. But there's something magical about the sequence I put together because I've learned it that way, and I put some creativity into creating those sequences so that taps into your energy, and you have that energy.
Yeah.
You just trap it, and you want to open those channels to let it come out and use the energy for whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
So,
to do what you love. Yeah. So you, that you can click on this site if you're reading this on the blog. You can get over to it, and Farnoosh does offer the first 10-minute invigorator as a free download, so you can check it out. Really an awesome resource. I just love it. 'Cause those days, we all have them where we're just busy. We'd really like to get our workout in, but it's not going to happen. But you can do this 10-minute program. I mean, everybody, you have to take a break anyway to be effective in your work. So, if you have that kind of sit down job that a lot of us have. So, yeah. So I, again, thank you for that resource, and all the wonderful resources that you offer. You have your 21 steps to confidence building on your site now too, which is I'm also just in love with. So you've got a lovely podcast. So anyone who wants to learn more about what Farnoosh has going on over there, it is prolificliving.com, and the links are all below. And she's got this really awesome podcast too, which is another great way to get to know what you have going on.
Thank you, Sarah. You're awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all your wisdom and knowledge. I really, really appreciate it. And
it was a lot of fun. I'm
yeah.
so glad I was here to talk to your wonderful listeners and readers, and had a lot of fun talking up juicing with you, Sarah.
I did too. You've got me jazzed up. Okay. All right. Well, we'll say goodbye. Bye.